I thought you might return. Now, where were we? I told you about the folly of Aristagoras and the great king's wrath. There was Themistocles, the defense of Greece, and the rise of Athens. Ah yes, Brasidas and Lysander, and the great war that tore Greece apart. My, we really did cover quite a lot. Perhaps this time I'll stick to a single subject. While the Greeks squabbled endlessly, to their north there lay the entirely unremarkable kingdom of Macedon, a poor, rugged land, its borders beset by belligerent neighbors and riven from within by feuding nobles. For centuries, the kings of Macedon had done all they could just to hold this fragile fiefdom together. Glorious expansion was out of the question. All this changed when Philip took the throne. His was an improbable kingship. The crown only passed to Philip after both of his older brothers had their turns on the throne cut short. One slain in battle, and the other by an assassin's blade. Determined not to meet the same fate, Philip immediately set to reforming the Macedonian military, arming his soldiers with pikes as long as 4 men laid head to toe. As for those troublesome nobles, the prospect of prize commands in Philip's new army provided a tempting incentive to good behavior. When Philip marched against the Scythians, his eyes set on yet more plunder to feed his growing realm. There was a new commander among his forces, his teenage heir, Alexander. A boy of little experience, but tremendous ambitions. Philip was about to give his son a first, alluring taste of glory.
Hold the line! Any man who turns his back will answer to me! Alexander! Make yourself useful and go protect the baggage camp. And take that horrible horse with you. It's spooking the others.
Finally, Bucephalus. A chance for glory.
Be vigilant, boy. These Scythians are swift as they are devious. If they didn't all reek of mare's milk, you'd have no clue they were nearby until they slit your throat.
I shall not disappoint you, father. This camp will not fall.
Scythians heading to your camp, Alexander. You'd better be ready for them. If you look weak, I look weak.
Is there nothing more princely for me to do, father?
You could get out of my ear and go and see what Clytus and Parmenion might want with you. Do as they tell you, and no more, boy.
Prince Alexander, your father says I should put you to use. A Scythian convoy will arrive soon. Take your men to the valley, hide in the tall grass, and then seize the wagons for me.
Hiding, then stealing? This is thieves' work, Parmenion.
You should be glad of my devotion to your father. Else I'd have you mucking out the stables.
This is it. Get into position, men. Here they come. Ready? Charge! Zeus Tropaios, strike my foes with shuddering panic!
A worthwhile lesson, Alexander. A good commander waits, then strikes at the most opportune time. He does not go charging around like Achilles on the rampage. Now, bring me those supplies.
I've half a mind to keep this for myself. They're my spoils. Spear one.
You steer those carts so well, Alexander. Have you ever considered a career as a drover?
You may be father's favorite, Parmenion. But one day I will be king.
Alexander! How's your first taste of battle been, lad?
Rather insubstantial, Clytus. My father has confined me to watching the baggage.
I might have something more exciting for you. The Scythians have dozens of those mad-eyed horses they ride, all stomping and snorting in a big pen. Maybe you could cause a little chaos.
Take out the guard posts! What grand beasts these horses are. What fierce power just waiting to be unleashed. They need only be spooked and down the valley they will rush, over the bodies of their masters. Fly! Fly, golden-maned children of Poseidon!
Carnage! I've seen slaughterhouses less grisly than that valley right now. Fine work, lad.
The Scythians quiver like barley awaiting the scythe. Parmenion, Clytus, form up and push.
Where should I station my men, father?
In their tents. You will not participate.
When will he see that I am not just some child? On me, men! I'm going to find that Scythian king and slay him, as Achilles slew Hector.
All right, lad, you can come watch the battle. Just don't tell your father I let you through.
Atheas! I am Alexander, Crown Prince of Macedon. I have sought you out in the fray that we, two men of royal blood, might decide this day. Behold, Scythians! Your leader lies dead, and fiery-eyed Phobos, god of dread and rout, runs screaming through your ranks!
You're a disobedient wretch, boy. Things went well this time, but mark yourself. A hunting dog that slips the leash will eventually get put down. Now help load up the loot. We're going home.
Alexander had certainly enjoyed an upbringing to match his grandiose ambitions. His tutor had been none other than the great philosopher Aristotle. Aristotle taught him political theory, ethics, rhetoric, music, science, mathematics, but above all else, it was Homer's Iliad that entranced the young prince, the epic tale of Achilles' wrath. When Alexander was still a boy, a horse trader presented a hot-blooded stallion to Philip's court. It was a magnificent animal, its coat a shining black with a white mark like a star upon its head. None of the fine horsemen of Macedon could tame the beast. Until, that is, the boy Alexander realized that the horse was afraid of its own shadow and turned it towards the sun. Alexander named the steed Bucephalus, and from that day forth the two were bonded like brothers. Now sat proudly astride his mount, Alexander accompanied his victorious father on the road home to Macedon, through the rocky territory of the Triballi. It was to prove an eventful journey.
Philip! You seem to be using my lands as a highway, and I'm honoured for sure. But it is my right as king to extract tolls, fares, levies, etc. So give me some of that gold, eh?
You know who I am, barbarian? I'm no merchant. I am King of Macedon, master of the plains and of the mountains. Now move, or I will gut you like a suckling pig.
You are a very unpleasant man, Philip. Archers!
Alexander! Take the cavalry and kill those bowmen! Do not let those slathering jackals lay a finger on my loot!
My king, your thigh. There's a spearhead in it.
Get us out of this gorge! I shall... yes. I'll have a little rest on this cart.
The king is out cold, Parmenion. We'll have to organize the retreat ourselves.
The way ahead is blocked. We shall camp here while we clear the rocks.
They're coming for the plunder! Don't let them get those carts! That's our loot, and I'm not about to let them loot it. The rocks are almost cleared. There are 2 paths ahead. I suggest we take the more direct one.
Swarming with Tribali, no doubt. Take the longer route, the safer route. The king would agree with me, Clitus.
Well, in his absence, we do have the Crown Prince. Alexander, what do you say?
The more numerous the enemy, the greater the glory.
All right, time to move. Tribali ahead! Sweep them from our path!
Like a swift winter torrent bursting through the dike!
Ha ha! Even in the midst of battle, the boy remembers his Homer!
What did I tell you? One of those Tribali nearly took my head off. Set up camp on that hill. It's the safest location.
So that! Camp where supplies are plentiful. What do you say, Alexander?
I have faith in our arms, not some mound of dirt.
Keep it up, men! Stick to your training, cover the man next to you, and we'll all get through this!
Tribalians incoming! Do not allow these lawless louts to steal our hard-won spoils!
Right, let's get moving before they resume their attacks. There's a wide valley up ahead, perfect for our cavalry if we get into trouble.
Prince, we've lost enough men today. Take the less obvious route, the less guarded route, even if it is narrower.
We haven't the men to risk a fight on open ground.
Shields up! Keep moving!
Tyre,
How much further, Clitus? The wounded outweigh the loot.
If the scouts are right, we're almost clear. But there's a Tribali camp blocking the exit.
I shall clear the way. It is what my father would do. On me, brave soldiers! Follow me as you would my father. The blood that runs hot in his veins courses likewise in mine. I equal him in strength and surpass him in valor. By my sword, I have carved us a path home. Follow me, men of Macedon!
On campaign with his father, Alexander had finally been given the chance to prove himself. Things were not always so harmonious between father and son. Alexander's fiercely protective mother, Olympias, was not Philip's only wife. Nor was she a full-blooded Macedonian. At the wedding feast for Philip's 7th wife, the girl's father proposed a toast.
May the gods bless this union, and may it produce a legitimate Macedonian heir.
And what am I then? A bastard?
Philip rose, drew his sword, and advanced. Not on the man who had insulted his son, but against Alexander. Thoroughly drunk, the one-eyed conqueror tripped and fell flat on his face.
Here is the man who would lead you from Europe into Asia, and he can't even cross from one couch to the next.
Yet for every quarrel, there was a reconciliation. And Alexander once again rode at his father's side as Philip bore down on Greece. Philip had long wished to be master of the Greek world, and the wily campaigner had used all manner of diplomatic tricks to extend his influence to the south. For years, an uneasy peace abided. But now, the Greeks prepared to make one last stand against their would-be conqueror. Astride the road to Chaeronea, the Greek forces waited. On their right, the Athenians, their empire long diminished but their pride irrepressible. On their left, the Thebans, among their ranks the elite Sacred Band. From the north, their long pikes swaying above storms of dust, came the Macedonians. And on their flank, with full command of the king's finest cavalry, was Alexander.
Alexander, see those Thebans opposite your flank? I want you to break them. Then me and Parmenion can shatter the rest. Clytus, keep an eye on the boy.
Aye, sir. Right, Alexander. Rule number 1 of pitched engagements. Control the ground, control the battle. You want to be fighting them out there, not fending them off from your camp.
Alexander, I hear you didn't lose a single wagon to those pilfering Trebalians. So you get a share of the spoils. Finally, something earned through your own sweat, not just your fortunate birth.
Finally, Clytus, I am given the command I deserve. Oh, glorious day!
Aye, a fine day for all sons of Macedon. Listen up now. I think your father's about to give his speech.
Macedonians! I won't bore you with oratory. Let me just recall what these Greeks say about you. They say your victories were won through luck, not skill. They call you brigands, not soldiers. They say you plunder sanctuaries and debauch yourselves in holy shrines. They call you drunkards. They call you liars. They call you scum. They call me a barbarian. Me! A descendant of Heracles! Well, by the 12 gods, today I'll tear their tongues from their lying mouths and let them choke on their slander.
You know, your father spent some time in Thebes as a youth. Learned half of his tactics there. Some right smart generals they've got. You take the Theban commanders out, and the rest will panic. One commander lies dead. Look how their ranks quiver.
The pitiless spirits of death, those black-winged keres, stalk you, Thebans. Your commanders they drag by the feet down to the dismal halls of Hades. Flee now, before you join them in death.
Only the Sacred Band remains. The Thebans' finest hoplites, unmatched in skill and strength. The men that laid low the Spartans.
I have waited so long to show my father that I am worthy, but fortune is fickle. 1,000 things can happen in the chaos of arms.
You've been trained all your life for this. All those tutors Philip hired. All those sword masters and tacticians and riding instructors. There's no one more ready for war than you, lad.
Against the finest warriors of Greece I have stood, and I was not found wanting.
You've achieved nothing yet, boy. Save the speeches and trophies for later. There are foes still to slay. Rip into their flank, Alexander. Like gutting a pig. Parmenion, if it comes to pass that I am no longer king, that boy will take my throne, and it'll fall to you to see that he fulfills my plans. Don't let him be led astray by wittering soothsayers or simpering poets or those preening friends of his. You advise him. You tell him straight.
Stand tall, men! Imagine the terror those Greeks will feel. They entrusted their flank to the Thebans, but from the dust and tumult we will emerge, thundering forth the very image of death!
You chose this, Greeks. I didn't ask for your cities, or your treasures, or your love. I asked only that you recognize the law of power and submit.
At Chaeronea, amid the bodies skewered by pikes and mangled by swords, the city-states of Greece had their hopes of independence trampled into the mud. Philip could finally turn his gaze eastwards, to his long-held ambition of plundering the rich Persian Empire. His hopes, however, were suddenly and brutally snuffed out. An assassin's blade jammed fiercely between Philip's ribs. The Lion of Macedon bled out in the dust, a fate he had brought upon so many others. And so it came to pass that Alexander, nearly 20 summers of age, ascended to the throne of Macedon. The nobles swore him fealty, some gladly, some reluctantly, some out of duty and some out of calculation. Some were never given the choice, struck down on the new king's orders before they could cause trouble. Assassination, you see, was something of a staple of Macedonian politics. Equally routine was the propensity of Macedon's northern neighbors to invade whenever a king died, like jackals converging on a fresh carcass when a lion has moved away. The gleaming diadem of royalty set freshly upon his brow, Alexander marched north, where the first true test of his reign awaited.
Alexander, the border towns need your help. Fight beside me, Hephaestion, as we did when we were boys.
They've fled for now, but no doubt they'll be back to raid the towns.
I shall protect our people. Let Zeus bear witness. Hephaestion, dearest friend, will you stay and advise me?
Gladly, Alexander. I'll speak plainly as a true friend should. Wearing the crown is one thing, but only deeds will prove to your subjects that you can rule. Keep their towns safe, and when ready, strike against the tribes that ravage them. A letter from Parmenion. Being an unwavering servant to the realm of Macedon, and out of love for the late King Philip, I give my support to the rightful heir, Alexander. And in exchange, I will gladly accept command of the advance guard into Asia.
Scheming old curmudgeon. But I do need his support.
Grave news from Abdera. Their fields are blighted with locusts. They ask you for grain if you can spare it.
Let the Abderans remember this gift. and my generosity to all who serve me loyally.
Treachery afoot, an uprising. Your father knew well how to deal with insurrection. Cut out the rot before it spreads.
The throne is mine by right, and I shall not be unseated by some jealous baron. The Tribali should have cut us down when they had us trapped in those bleak ravines. They will stalk us no longer.
None question you any longer, Alexander. Now, my king, let's finish off those tribes. Philip was beastly to you. But if he could see you now, he would be impressed. Whether he'd admit it or not.
Nothing I did ever impressed my father. But the things I will achieve, even he won't be able to scorn.
It is said Poseidon favors the Taulantians most among all barbarians. They should not have strayed so far from the coast.
None yet stand against me. I could not have done this without you, Hephaestion. As the bard says, a friend with an understanding heart
Is worth no less than a brother.
Not all of the northern tribes were foolish enough to pick a fight with Alexander. Like a keen-eyed jeweler, able to discern the potential in a rough and unshaped stone, King Langaros of the Agrianians chose to ingratiate himself with the Macedonian monarch. Langaros informed Alexander that a tribe known as the Autariatai were planning to attack the Macedonians, and even more helpfully, Langaros offered to deal with them himself. Alexander gladly accepted. And so, from every hamlet and township in the Strymon Valley, Langaros called upon his forces. Swift peltasts, clutching their throwing spears tight, cavalrymen atop hardy horses well used to cantering through rocky hills, stout infantrymen armed with that wicked long blade, the Rhomphaia. To ensure their commitment, Langaros spoke to them of duty. To bolster their fortitude, he invoked the gods. But to strengthen their zeal, Langaros promised them plunder.
Never you fear, noble Clytus. We shall scour these valleys of those treacherous tribes who would dare to defy your honored king.
So this isn't just an excuse for you to line your coffers.
Clytus, please. I'm just being a worthy friend to your new king. If I happen to profit along the way, that's just a sure sign that the gods bless our alliance. Silver pitchers, golden drinking horns, jeweled fibulae. Very tasteful. I recognize that statuette. These lice-ridden reprobates were the ones who raided us last winter. These people were from mighty stock. No wonder they had so much wealth. Masterful horse thieves, this lot. Tell your king the Agrianians fought as if the gods themselves were watching. And if they weren't, they missed a fine show.
Aye, I'll tell him just that. And I'm quite certain there will be a place for your men when we sail to Asia.
While Alexander had been away in the north, making friends and slaughtering foes, rumors were spreading in Greece.
I have it on good authority that the tyrant Alexander is dead, and with him that feckless rabble that his barbarous father called an army. Now is the time to rise up, cast out the garrisons that he imposed on your 5 cities, and retake your liberty!
Alexander was not dead. And when he heard that the Thebans had trapped their Macedonian garrison on the city's acropolis, he was furious. Ah, Thebes. The city where Oedipus had plucked out his own eyes, where Antigone hanged herself, where Heracles went mad and slew his own family. For defying Alexander, the Thebans would suffer a new tragedy.
By the 12 gods, we're surrounded! Where is Alexander? I signed up to be a garrison officer, not a general.
We're sick of the sight of you Macedonian rats infesting the sacred Cadmea. We're coming up, and your bloated corpses are going to tumble down!
I don't want to be a bloated corpse. Bar the gates, man the barricades, wake up the sentries! Oh, beautiful Artemis, I ask you, beg you, goddess, preserve me and I'll sacrifice 10 white goats for you. Succulent ones too, not those stringy creatures that Pathon sells.
Well, this is quite the situation. Are you lot still alive up there?
General Perdiccas! Oh, thank the gods! Is Alexander here?
He's not far behind. You boys, hold on just a little while longer. And try not to sound so scared, Eropos. Sets a bad example. Alexander's on the horizon. The Thebans are already diverting their men to the outer walls. Now finish off the ones on the Cadmea. Make yourselves presentable.
Thebans! I have no wish to be your conqueror. Join me willingly, and I shall gladly count you among our ranks when we cross into Asia.
Ace Caracas! You milk-sucking sons of sows!
They'll regret that. You boys in the garrison! Now that the Thebans are focused on us, you go cause some chaos in the city.
Sneak out, sabotage, then regroup at the Cadmea before the Thebans can respond. Lightning raids, right? The longer we're roaming around out there, the more Thebans will come for us.
Ite Magadones!
Look! The smithies! The fewer weapons they have, the less likely we are to get stabbed.
Eyes on the water, Eropos. A Theban supply ship is headed downriver. Nab it when it gets into the shallows. Ah, a fine catch. I wouldn't go splashing around in that river, though. Half the city's chamber pots end up in there. Those Thebans aren't in the mood for mercy. You get those prisoners out of there before they get decapitated.
Oi, moi! Those screams! They're killing the prisoners! By the gods, we thought you lot were dead. But come with us. If we can distract the Thebans inside the city, Alexander can break in from without. We've sent a patrol after us.
Ha! Smoke rising from the Agora. Keep it up, lads. Our boys in the city have been wreaking merry havoc, and the Thebans are in disarray. Time to strike, I reckon.
Hearken to me, soldiers! None of us wished to bring death upon this eminent city. But just as the Thebans once forsook their Greek brothers and sided with the Persians, so now they have chosen perfidy and sedition. They assault our comrades on the Cadmea, our stout-hearted friends. Rush forth now to their aid. You have your orders. Seize the city. Raise our banners in its most hallowed precincts. and let the Thebans see that they rule here no longer.
Oh, seven-gated city of Cadmus. You must be blind as Oedipus to see Lord Alexander approach and bar your gates to his majesty.
When ivy-wreathed Dionysus came upon Thebes and demanded that King Pentheus recognize his power, he was spurned, and the wrath of Dionysus was terrible indeed. When I stood before your walls and made my demands, Thebans, you should have remembered the fate of Pentheus. Amphion, O son of Zeus, who blessed this city with its walls in the age of heroes, I stand humbly before your tomb. Accept these offerings of oil and honey, and know that the violence I did to your creation was no affront to you. Slake your thirst at the fountain of Ares. Fill yourselves with his love of strife. For there is still bloody work to do this day.
We hold the city, Alexander. No resistance left. I'll recall the soldiers.
You know, my father once destroyed Olynthus after it betrayed him. I thought that was cruelty. But now I see. Either you make the price of rebellion clear, or you invite the knife in the back. Let the men loose. Let Thebes burn.
Alexander's destruction of Thebes was near total. All that he allowed to remain were the temples, the ancient Cadmea, and the house of the poet Pindar. The rest of the rebellious Greeks immediately surrendered, and Alexander could once again turn his gaze towards Persia. As was only natural before such a grand expedition, Alexander went to Delphi, seeking the wisdom of the god Apollo. When Alexander arrived, he was told that Apollo's priestess was absent from the temple, this being a day when prophecies were forbidden. But Alexander, believing that his will surpassed any sacred rules, marched to the priestess's quarters and began to drag her towards the temple, determined that she would tell him his fate. "My son!" exclaimed the terrified priestess. "You are unconquerable!" Satisfied with his boorishly acquired prophecy, Alexander crossed the Hellespont. Parmenion was waiting with the advance guard, but Alexander had more pressing matters. He proceeded to Troy, where he anointed the gravestone of Achilles with oil. He and his friends ran races around the tomb, as though they were the heroes of Homer's Iliad. The Persians had time for no such frivolities. They assembled their forces at the river Granicus, trusting in its steep banks and fast-flowing waters to deter Alexander's onslaught. Alexander gazed at the army arrayed against him, a host more numerous than any he had yet faced. The steeds of the Persian nobles strutting along the serried ranks, their riders eagerly watching for a glimpse of the invader they wished to slay. Upon a single charge across the Granicus, Alexander would stake the fate of his entire expedition.
The Persians hold a stout position and have the benefit of rest. Our men are tired from the march. Reconsider your assault, I urge you.
I did not cross the Hellespont to be waylaid by this puny stream. Form up. You will take the infantry on the left and center, while I shall lead the cavalry on the right, as befits a king's honor. I shall break the Persians' morale, so long as you do not flee first. Macedonians! Many of you served my father, who led you to victories against the warlike Thracians, the savage Illyrians, the hard-riding Scythians. Fine victories, but look at the host against whom I lead you today. the finest soldiers of the Persian Empire. How splendid their costumes! How lustrous their horses! How magnificent their banners! Have you ever seen so grand an army? Now think of the glory when you rout them today! Imagine the trophies you will hang above your hearths! Hear, ringing in your ears, the acclamation that you fought beside Alexander on the day of his greatest victory! Cry Zeus Soter and charge!
Here we go, lads! Kill their commanders and break their spirits!
Seize that Persian command post! This section of the line is in trouble. The captain is dead. A command post is this? The satrap's brought half his wardrobe. They're horse pens. You know what to do with those, lad.
Run hard, you silver-maned stallions, like luminous comets through an ashen sky.
Another brave captain lost. You must support the infantry, Alexander. Thundering Zeus! How many veteran officers will we lose this day?
Persian field hospital! Seize it and stop them patching up their sickly conscripts.
Sacred fires, thronged with chanting magi, exhorting the foe to greater feats. Douse their flames!
These golden trinkets are ours now.
The Persian standards! Burn them, lads! Let the Persians see their banners burn. Turn those fine pigments black. Into their baggage camp, like wolves in a henhouse.
They are broken! By the 12 gods, I triumph!
Not yet. The Persians may have fled, but their Greek mercenaries remain, encamped in the hills at the rear.
Hard men, these Greek mercenaries. A blessing for us that the Persians were too distrustful to put them in the front line, but taking them out now will still be tough going.
The others are retreating. Push on.
I see your camp behind you, traitors! You cannot continue to fall back much longer. We have you cornered, Greeks! Like hunters hemming in a growling boar!
Forgive us, Lord Alexander! Forgive us and spare our lives!
Mercy! The Persians never spared the Greeks of Ionia, whom I have liberated, nor the temples of Athens, whose destruction I shall avenge. I am a foe to the Mede, and you are his willing servants. A fine victory, Macedonians, and the first of many! Let Darius bear witness. I am not some marauder to be dealt with by his lackeys. I am King Alexander, and I lay claim to this realm.
Like the kings of Homer's Iliad, vying for glory in the foremost ranks, Macedonian monarchs led from the front, and few with such zeal as Alexander. At the Granicus he plunged into the fray, as a famished wolf darts among a grazing flock, tearing at sheep and shepherd alike. But Alexander ventured too far. and a Persian horseman brought his sword swinging towards the king's neck. But Clytus, lurching forward, sliced the Persian's arm from his shoulder. His first victory over the Mede in hand, and feeling just as invincible as the Pythian priestess had proclaimed him, Alexander marched on. His target was the coastal city of Halicarnassus, its grand harbour ringed by walls flecked with sea foam, where the great warrior queen Artemisia had once ruled. You see, Alexander had a rather unconventional plan to deal with the Persian navy. Rather than build a fleet and fight them at sea, he'd simply use his army to capture the Persian naval bases, one by one. The rightful queen of Halicarnassus was Ada II, a wise and learned woman, and a gracious benefactor of the temple at Delphi. But, deposed by her brother, Ada now languished in exile, until the arrival of Alexander presented her with an opportunity. The exiled queen welcomed Alexander, putting her wealth, her followers, and her considerable knowledge at his disposal. So splendidly did they get along, Ada even adopted Alexander as her own son. The siege of Halicarnassus, then, would be a family affair.
Halicarnassus, jewel of Ionia, now swarming with Persian rogues and their Greek mercenaries. Return my city to me, Alexander.
It will be so, I swear it. For a siege is no more than a battle of wills. The foe will come upon us with all the ferocity of desperate men, but if we shatter their strongholds, they will abandon the defenses. The gates are shattered! Now bring down that fort!
The rams are lost. Valuable timber wasted.
We have the first breach. Saffron-robed Ennio, wall breaker, your favor grants us victory. The walls empty. They flee to the harbor, crowding onto ships, bewailing their defeat. Queen Ada, retake your rightful place as ruler of this fine city.
So long did I pray for this, and then the gods sent you, Alexander. May you always be good to your friends, no matter how mighty you become.
Breaching Halicarnassus was a tremendous feat, as had been the victory at the Granicus, not to mention the slew of cities throughout Asia Minor that had surrendered without a fight. Yet the victory Alexander truly craved remained elusive. He set off once more, seeking a confrontation with the Persian king Darius III, named after the very monarch who had launched the first Persian invasion of Greece. Along the way, Alexander came upon the town of Gordion. Here, there was an ancient cart tied to a post by the most fiendishly intricate knot, a tangled mass of ancient cords twisting, snaking, weaving, slipping over and under and around a knot with no visible beginning or end. Not a very interesting attraction, you might think, but it was said that whoever could undo the knot would rule the world. Alexander examined the knot, paused for thought. Then with a single stroke of his sword, simply sliced it in two. From there, Alexander proceeded south, until he reached Cilicia. He began to feel a frightful heat rising in his breast. Then he broke into a wild sweat, frothing like a raging stallion. He flung himself into the icy cold waters of the river Kidnus, but emerged racked with cramps and fever. All of the king's physicians feared to administer a remedy. What dreadful tortures would await them if they failed, or worsened the king's condition? Only one, Philip of Acarnania, was willing to produce a cure. But as Alexander was about to raise the potion to his lips, a messenger passed him a letter from Parmenion, claiming that the Persian king had paid the doctor to poison him. Alexander looked the physician straight in the eye and downed the cup in one go. At first, the king fell back, his breath lost, swooning into near unconsciousness. But then, as Philip attended to him, Alexander regained his senses and felt the cure work its way through his body. A period of rest was clearly in order. Alexander and his men, welcomed into the cities of Lower Cilicia, at last paused their relentless march.
Finally, the king is forced to take some rest. His body, it seems, cannot quite keep up with his ambitions. Now, using these most welcoming cities for our base, we should gather some supplies.
The scouts have surveyed the area. The coast is rich in fish and oysters. Sturdy oak trees and lovely fat boars up in the foothills of Mount Amanus.
My fever subsides. Fetch frankincense, and make offerings to Asclepios.
How good to see you well, King Alexander. We were all terribly worried.
The Cilicians have ceased their attacks. They scurry in terror. From what?
Darius is upon us! At last the strings of fate draw us together. Fight me, King of Kings, and let undying glory be the victor's prize.
Glory? Do you think us duelists in a poem or a fable? I am Lord of Asia, blessed of Ahura Mazda, and I am here to evict a bandit from my realm.
Greetings all. I heard that my naval expertise might finally be required.
Ahoy, Admiral Niarchos! How are things back in your native Crete? Dealt with that Minotaur yet,
Very droll, Perdiccas. Never mind Minotaurs, the seas round here are infested with pirates. Our fishing ships will need to be guarded.
You think yourself a lion, but you are a vulture. You despoil my cities. You choke my rivers with putrid corpses. You murder men by the thousand and strip them while they bleed.
You forget, Darius, your ancestors did all these things and more to the Greeks. And now, the wrath of the gods is come. Darius! Darius, you coward! Face me and prove your worth, you slinking jackal!
I have no need to throw away my kingdom in a single duel. A defeat for you means ruin, but I have millions more awaiting my summons.
So confident was Darius that he would triumph at Issus, he had brought his mother, wife, and daughters to the battle. So hastily did he flee, they were left behind for Alexander to capture. Like the women of Troy, powerless before their captors, Darius' family wept and lamented, imagining that their lot would now be misery and servitude. But Alexander treated them with perfect respect, and allowed them every comfort to which they were accustomed. Alexander proceeded along the coast, until he came to Tyre, that great city of the Phoenicians, set upon an offshore island as though the whole marvelous edifice floated on the sea. Alexander demanded entry to Tyre, wishing to sacrifice at the temple of Melkart. The Tyrians refused, and when Alexander sent messengers a second time, they were hurled into the sea from the city walls. an outrageous thing to do. But the Tyrians, their grand fortifications protected by the waves that lapped up against them, held the entirely reasonable expectation that Alexander would give up and move on. Alexander rarely did what you and I might consider reasonable. And so, work began on a vast causeway, a bridge of earth and rubble between Tyre and the mainland. The world reshaped at Alexander's command.
Seize the old town, where the craven Tyrians used to dwell before they slunk off to their island. Then we shall begin work on our causeway, and bring just retribution to those who would slay diplomats and emissaries.
This is madness, Alexander. Tyre is nearly 4 stades from the mainland. Surely it is not worth the time, the effort, the lives that will be lost.
I have been wronged, Parmenion. Insulted, disregarded. No doubt a coward like you would let these Phoenicians bash down your door, spit in your hearth, kick your dog, and sleep in your bed. But I shall not stand for their abuse.
Prospero!
This will be our base. Engineers, begin your work. Any man who distinguishes himself will receive a purse of gold from my own hand.
That Tyrian navy is powerful. We don't have the materials or the knowledge to build anything that can rival them.
I have sent for Niarchos. He will soon come with a fleet and expert shipwrights to construct the vessels we need.
Your father knew when a fight was worth taking and when it was folly. Why must you indulge your every impulse?
I will not have limits put on my ambitions by the likes of you, Parmenion.
No, the gods will do that.
The Tyrians are upon us!
Let them come. I'm sure they'll want to admire our work.
Furl up the sails! The fleet stands ready, Alexander. We have timber and pitch to build further vessels.
Glad to hear it, Admiral. We should begin construction immediately.
The causeway is complete. Now look at those grey faces on the battlements. Not so brave without the sea to guard you, eh?
Break down those gates! Then we press on to the palace and claim this city. Hermes, protector of heralds. Zeus, Xenios, punisher of wrongs. I feel you at my back as I tear through these sin-soaked boulevards. Bear me on with righteous fury.
The city is ours, Alexander. The men beg to be let loose. The siege was a trying one. They want vengeance for our murdered emissaries.
Sack it.
The Tyrians paid an awful price for defying Alexander. Thousands were slaughtered in the city. Thousands more crucified along the beach. The rest sold into slavery, condemned like the women of Troy to know ever after that once they had ruled a great city by the shore. In Egypt, Alexander received a more favorable reception. The Egyptians had always chafed under Persian rule, and so when Alexander arrived, they hailed him as a liberator. They proclaimed him Pharaoh, the incarnation of Ra. And Alexander blessed his new subjects with a magnificent city, Alexandria, crowning the rich Nile Valley. Having seized the jewel of Darius' empire, Alexander turned once more to defeating his rival in battle. Darius sent messenger after messenger, desperately suing for peace.
30,000 talents of silver. All the territory west of the Euphrates. Co-rulership of the Achaemenid Empire.
If I were you, I would accept.
So would I, if I were Parmenion.
His final offer rejected, Darius gathered an army once more. They awaited Alexander at Gaugamela, arrayed in their thousands upon a grim and dusty plain. The great king ordered the place cleared of any vegetation, so that his vicious scythed chariots would have no obstacle between them and their prey. On the eve of battle, beneath the indifferent stars, the armies of Darius and Alexander slept fitfully, knowing that on the morrow they would decide the fate of empires.
Make your preparations, men. Take your rest and pray to whichever god has shown you most favor. For when the morning comes, we shall contest the greatest battle since the days of Hector and Achilles.
Why do we not strike in the night? We are few and they are countless. A sneak attack is our only hope.
I will not steal a victory, Parmenion. By the light of day, I shall look Darius in the eyes and slay him.
There is still time to retreat, Alexander. Overcome your hubris for once in your life.
Oh, you are a miserable cur, Parmenion. You give the name of prudence to your cowardice, but I know your quivering heart.
The sun rises. The hour is upon us.
Soldiers! You men with hearts of lions! Our foes outnumber us, yes. I won't understate the danger, for that would understate the glory that will be our prize. Half the world has been brought to face us, and they shall bear word of our strength to every corner of the earth when we scatter them in rout.
The ground itself trembles. Prepare to receive chariots! Pikes front!
Their attacks falter. Darius falters, staggers, reels like a gut-punched wrestler. Forward now! We strike the final blow! Darius! Where is that gleaming chariot? That royal crown?
The Persians flee the field! You've done it, Alexander!
I want Darius! Where is Darius? No man dismount! I want Darius found!
Alexander was determined that Darius would not get away from him a second time. Over jagged hills and shifting dunes, Alexander chased the great king, urging his swift riders on through freezing desert nights and days cruelly elongated by the summer sun. But when Alexander finally caught up with his foe, Darius lay dying. In the dirt, amidst upturned wagons and mules broken from exhaustion, the great king of Persia bled out, murdered by his own men. Alexander had Darius's body cleaned and dressed, and returned to his mother. And so, A mere 5 years after he inherited the crown of Macedon, Alexander seized the diadem of Persia. A king of kings, to be sure. The killers of Darius he hunted down. The cities that resisted his rule he stormed. But in truth, most of the Persian governing class willingly exchanged one king for another. Power such as Alexander now possessed is rarely left untroubled. Alexander caught word of a plot to kill him, hatched within his own court. The would-be assassins were rounded up and executed. Among them, Philotas, son of Parmenion. Philotas had known of the conspiracy, but said nothing. A crime, Alexander declared, as heinous as the plot itself. But what of Parmenion? The moment he learned that his son had been executed, he would be sure to act. And he had thousands of loyal men beneath him. No, he too would have to die.
Armed and belted men in my tent. So, he's finally decided to do away with me.
Will you resist, sir?
No, I won't. But tell the boy king this. The gods cannot abide excess.
We shall build my city here, in this crude and hostile waste, this primordial tract. Yes, that will be a feat worthy of a crown, since Darius denied me a duel.
A city is a hungry beast. We should begin resource production immediately. More houses means more people, and that means more citizens toiling in the fields, paying their taxes, filling our stores.
The local Scythians haven't taken kindly to our presence. Nomads rarely appreciate cities being built next to their pastures. They're massing an attack in the west.
Where once was naught but dust and mud, a mighty city now arises.
I will affix my name to no mere frontier outpost. This must be a true city. And into it we must bring something marvelous. Something inspiring to the soul. Now that I wear the diadem of the Achaemenids, it is right that I should plant gardens. Turn idle earth to blooming parks. Yes, a paradisos.
From naught but dust, a grand city, where there was desolation, life. Many cities now bear your name, Alexander, but this is the most extraordinary of all.
Alexander founded many cities that bore his name. This one he named Alexandria Escate, meaning the furthest. Here, on the edge of the known world, beset by foes and vexed by the barren landscape, Alexander raised his improbable city, an attestation that every last parasang of the Persian Empire was his to order. Yet beyond the borders of the empire he had just conquered, there were lands vaster and richer than even the sprawling Persian realm. India, a place little understood by the Greeks, who traded tales of a land where giant ants dug for gold in the rich hillsides, where rivers of honey flowed from rocks, where men lived 100 or even 200 years, untroubled by pains. They spoke of men with one giant foot, with which they sheltered themselves from the sun. Men with the heads of dogs, and men with no heads at all, who had their faces in their chests. I shall let you decide the veracity of these stories for yourself. In one respect, though, the land of the 5 rivers was much like anywhere else. It was endlessly contested by rival kings. On one side of the river Hydaspes lay the realm of Takshila, ruled by the young king Ambi, who had recently gained the throne after his father was murdered. On the other side of the Hydaspes, another king ruled. Horus, the man who had recently murdered Ambi's father. This being as good a pretext as any for another round of fighting, the two kings gathered their armies, made extravagant promises to their mercenaries, and prepared to wage war.
Ambi! You march into my lands, build a nest to hide yourself in, then send others to assault me. At least your father gave me a decent fight before I smote him.
You are without honor, Porus, and your love for war is unseemly. My raiders will ravage your lands, and your own rivers will carry my reinforcements.
Oh dear, oh dear. How will you ferry your ragged conscripts into my lands now?
There is a king coming from the west, Porus. He rides a black horse that feeds on bronze and breathes out fire, whose men fight with spears that extend across rivers. Already, I have sent messengers to him.
Let him come! A man worth fighting. I was starting to think I'd never find another.
Your triumph will be short-lived, you intemperate warmonger! You have too many enemies. Either I, or the Cathaeans, or the Glausai, or the king from the west will finish you.
These are my lands, boy. Any foreign king who steps foot in them will end up flat beneath an elephant's foot.
Back at the court of Alexander, things grew fractious. Now that he was king of Persia, Alexander was beginning to adopt Persian customs, including the practice of prostration before the king. To many of Alexander's Greek and Macedonian followers, this gesture seemed not only servile, but blasphemous, an honor reserved solely for the gods. At a banquet, Clitus, ever the straight-talker, confronted the king. Both men were deeply drunk.
What is this, Alexander? You dress in foreign finery. You consult with eunuchs and magi. If a Macedonian wants an audience with you, he has to beg it from some pompous Persian courtier, and then prostrate himself like a slave. Have you forsaken your own kinsman?
Shut your wretched mouth, Clitus. If it weren't for me, you'd be fending off Thracian goat thieves from some hillside hovel.
No! If it weren't for your father, you'd have no army, no victories, no glory. Without your father, you would be nothing. And if he could see you now, he'd be ashamed.
Alexander wrenched a spear from a nearby guard, hurled it across the room, and struck Clitus dead. Alexander looked upon the lifeless face of the man he had once called friend, the man who had saved his life at the Granicus, and Alexander wept. All through the night, all through the following day, his grief tortured him. A procession of friends and comrades, courtiers and flatterers, philosophers and wise men came to him, trying to soothe his guilty soul. But what roused him from his melancholy was a force greater, deeper than any grief: his yearning. India awaited, a chance not just for conquest, but to follow in the footsteps of the god Dionysus, to witness marvels unseen by any Greek, to reach the outer sea that girdled the earth itself.
These monsoon rains. I've never seen a river so swollen.
Would that Clitus were here to advise us. Would that frenzied Dionysus had not drowned my wits with wine. We shall press on with stout hearts, as Clytus would have wanted.
Oh, Alexander, your arrival is a blessing. Accept what little aid my destitute kingdom can offer, and heed this warning. That king across the river, Porus is his name, and he is a beast, coarse and foul and vicious, a lover of violence and a worshipper of hate.
That is well with me, friend. I have been seeking a worthy foe.
We have to put Porus back on the defensive. Only by striking across the river can we triumph.
Remains of an old settlement here. If Porus is canny, he'll lay an ambush.
Ambush! Close ranks and repel!
Dig in and hold, men! Our foe will not wait to send his forces upon us. We have our footholds. Now maintain these positions, no matter what the foe may hurl against you. Elephants! Pikemen, front!
Their attacks are slowing.
Now here's a man who knows how to fight. He may be pasty and short and skinny, but he plunges into the fray like a leaping leopard. Let's have it out, Alexander!
Forward! Strike them down!
To me, men! If we are to die, it will be with blood, with carnage, with so fierce and ruinous a slaughter that the earth will groan beneath the bodies!
Oh, glorious day! You do the impossible once again, Alexander. Clytus would be proud.
Unlike Darius, Porus did not flee. He fought on, even as his army routed and his elephants were dragged shrieking to the ground. At last, worn out by wounds, Porus was captured and brought before his foe.
Tell me, how do you wish to be treated?
Like a king.
Admiring Porus's strength and nobility, Alexander not only spared him, he made him the latest satrap of his ever-expanding empire. Alexander gained one friend that day, but he lost another.
His wounds were too great, my lord.
No. He has overcome worse than this.
We all have our limits, sire.
As ever, there was only one thing that could assuage Alexander's troubled soul: action. His new ally, Porus, was quick to suggest a suitable target for Alexander's next conquest. His own enemies, a warlike tribe known as the Cathaeans. And so the Macedonians prepared to march again. It had been 8 years since they set out from home. They had won innumerable battles, founded cities, plundered more wealth than any man would know what to do with. Yet still they were driven on by their insatiable king. And so the men began to wonder, would they ever return home to enjoy their spoils and sire children to hear their stories? Or would Alexander push them on until they collapsed?
Cathaeans! Word may not have reached you of what I did to the Thebans and Tyrians. Lay down your arms, for like Dionysus, I show no mercy to those who refuse me. So be it. Form up and advance! Flee behind your walls, cowards! No citadel has stooled me yet, and I have faced grander fortresses than yours. Move up, Perdiccas!
The city of Sangala is to be completely surrounded.
As menos.
Hephaestion, send word to King Porus I shall need siege equipment. Till then, we keep the Cathaeans locked inside Sangala. Not a man, not a child, not a stray dog is to flee and live.
They're massing at the gates. An escape attempt.
Cut them off and cut them down.
The castlemen!
Plunder that cart. No one is to take personal booty until we breach the city. Anything you recover from these runaways is to be put to the common store.
There are rumblings, Alexander. Some of the men, they are starting to question...
Question what? My orders, which have filled their knapsacks to bursting with treasure? My tactics, which have brought them glory to rival Heracles? The only question they should ask is what their king commands next.
Oh. I smell the reek of slaughter. A miserable lot, these Cathaeans. Vain, preening, arrogant braggarts. Dyeing their beards ridiculous colors. Scurrying inside their walls whenever someone offers them combat.
Would that all my foes would face me in the open field as you did, Porus. Like the kings of Homer. But we live in a sordid age. A wretched age, this age of iron.
There is a new order, Cathaeans. Now is the time of warrior kings. Your evasive tactics, your skullduggery, your shirking the glorious clash of arms? This will hold no longer.
Now all India sees, as every Greek and Thracian and Persian has seen, that any who impede me I shall destroy utterly. The defiant I shall slaughter, and the humble I shall welcome, as we march now to the great ocean that encircles the world. I have heard rumors, men, that your conviction is faltering. That some among you wish to turn back and leave our conquest incomplete. Do you not know what lies beyond this river? Lands lusher than you have ever seen. Riches that Croesus would envy. Glory, oh what glory, to rival Heracles himself. Silence. Speak, someone, I am no tyrant.
We love you, Alexander. Truly we do. But we want to go home.
East is the Ganges, which empties into the great sea that girdles the earth and will bear us back to Macedon. East is the way, east we shall go.
But still the silence persisted. The men refused to go on. Like Achilles sulking at Troy, Alexander withdrew to his tent. For 2 days, he spoke to no one, his heart filled with terrible rage. Armies are fickle. Perhaps the men would reconsider their refusal, whether from shame, or fear, or duty. Or perhaps the gods who had shown Alexander such favor would send a sign that none could ignore. No such portent came, nor did the army's grief turn to compliance. And so Alexander at last agreed to take them home. But, as you might expect, he wasn't simply going to take them back the way they came. They would build ships, sail down the Hydaspes until it joined with the river Indus, and then onto the sea. Any who stood in their path they would conquer, filling the glittering river with bloated corpses.
There is no road home but the one we carve into the earth. Take that city. Or do you renounce fighting as well as marching?
You know, the Oxydracians and the Malloy usually despise one another. It is only our arrival that made them form an alliance. The city of Multan dominates this region. Like a hornet queen, she is large and imposing, but relies on her subjects. Conquer the outlying cities, and Multan will lie exposed.
The first buttress of Multan's power is smashed, and I shall shatter the rest, one by one.
Multan is ripe for the taking. Demoralized to see their confederation subdued and starved of resources.
Good. Bring me a fresh blade. I shall lead the assault myself.
The city is ours. I see brave Leonatus on the battlements, and Peucestus, and... Where is the king? Perdiccas, where is Alexander? Alexander! Alexander! The arrow is stuck in his lung! Fetch the physician!
No, Perdiccas! Cut it out of me! Now, man!
Alexander's body was by now as scarred and slashed as a butcher's block, and this new wound was the deepest yet. Perhaps, having escaped death once again, he ought to have considered a reduction in his adventuring. On the contrary, it only reinforced his sense of invincibility. When he reached the southern coast, Alexander announced that the bulk of his army would not be sailing home. Rather, they would trek through the vast Gedrosian desert. The fleet was put under the command of Niarchos, with orders to sail along the coast and rendezvous at Babylon. And so the admiral made ready. The ships were loaded with barley cakes and wineskins, nets and fishing lines, chests of gold, should there be opportunities for trade, and racks of spears, should they need to fight. In addition to the steersmen and sailors, the carpenters and soldiers, there were also geographers, botanists, and naturalists, eagerly crowding the decks for a sight of something new and marvelous. For this, you see, would be a voyage of discovery.
Oi, Niarchos, you're not leaving without me.
This will be a voyage of research and discovery, not a drunken cruise. Well, who knows? We might find something so wondrous that it mollifies Alexander. Anyway, I thought you hated being at sea.
I hate marching through deserts even more. And I wouldn't mind a break from Alexander. Love him, though I do. Kangardmon. Enemy ships. You're the sailor, Niarchos. What's the proper naval salute?
We'll need to make regular stops for supplies, especially with your bulk on board. Perhaps you could lead the foraging party.
Ah, so that's why you allowed me onto this cursed boat. Not for the company, no, just to sniff out food like a truffle pig.
We need clean water and fresh meat if you can find it. We have food and water, and the winds of Boreas blow kindly. Cast off! We've a long journey ahead. We can't beach the flagship with those miscreants waiting for us. Land the troops and clear them out. Look what we found. A Hauma plant. Cyrus the Great himself would drink its restorative juices. We should seek out more treasures.
Niarchos, Perdiccas, what great fortune this is. The army and the king are just inland. Come north. To see you will raise the whole army's spirits.
My king, the voyage proceeds commendably, and we are preparing a trove of treasures that will delight you, I'm certain. How goes the desert journey?
The going is hard. Down to the donkeys we are suffering. But we shall persist. The next time we meet, it will be at Susa. Now go.
By Zeus, they looked haggard. What labours did they go through in that desert?
I would rather not know. Now that I've made a promise of the treasure collection, we had better fulfill it. There are ancient tombs nearby. Perhaps there's something there? The tomb of Erythraes. You know, Perdiccas, the Erythraean Sea is named for him.
The signet ring of Erythraes. What a well-stocked tomb. Ah, what is that stench? Like a Cyclops' chamber pot. Is that... That's a whale!
Very observant, Perdiccas. Here, dab this lavender oil under your nose, and let's get the ambergris loaded up. It may reek now, but a skilled perfume maker will make from it a rich attar.
A little golden chariot. Are you sure this will please Alexander? Maybe he could hitch a mouse to it and ride it into battle. Blockade ahead. I'm a soldier, not a sailor. Get me onto dry land and I'll deal with this. Plain sailing from here. On we go.
We return, our logbooks filled with wondrous sketches and laden with treasures to delight Lord Alexander. The desert march went well, I hope?
We survived. Now come. I shall take you to the king.
Alexander's march through the desert had taken a terrible toll. The sands had swallowed countless men, their strength sapped by disease or thirst or long festering wounds. Why confront the desert? To claim the glory of overcoming it? Or to punish the army that had refused to indulge his ambitions? Only the gods know now. And there were graver losses yet to come.
Not you, Hephaestion. Anyone but you.
I would have followed you to the ends of the earth, Alexander.
As Achilles grieved for Patroclus, so Alexander grieved for Hephaestion. An epic anguish. Biting sorrow mingled with thundering rage. Like a storm cloud, gathering up its fierce energy as it rolls across the darkening sky, Alexander convulsed with wrath that demanded release. His black gaze fell upon the Chasseans, who dwelt among the craggy mountains of the Zagros. In baneful silence, the great conqueror led his men into the hills for the final time.
What are your orders, Alexander?
Die, Trojans, all the way to Ilium, you in flight and I wreaking slaughter behind. One by one you shall die, till you have paid for the death of Patroclus and the ruin of the Greeks. Let those be my orders. Clear the bodies. This town will be our base from which our work will proceed. Perdiccas, make a secondary camp. Take your battalion and any recruits who have not yet killed a man.
The main towns are well guarded. If we attack the outer villages, we can draw the defenders out.
Consider the words of your beloved Homer, of the great King Odysseus. I crave, I long, all my days, to voyage home and see the dawn of my return. A homecoming. Nothing can be sweeter.
None of the things you say can rouse my heart, only slaughter and blood and the groans of dying men. Those too are the words of Homer. That will do for raiding and looting. My friends, if I was sharp with you, forgive me. Now join me once more in toil. We shall raise no ordinary trophy on this battlefield, but a grand monument, a proclamation of our glory.
The hills are abuzz, Alexander. I fear that any monument we raise among these crags will soon be assailed by the vengeful tribes.
Good. Achilles brought 12 Trojans to sacrifice at the pyre of Patroclus. For Hephaestion, let there be a flood of flesh. Is that it, men of the mountains? You warriors of stone, of granite, sturdy as boulders. Well, where are you?
What's that noise?
Death. Embrace the coming tide and the test of arms! You veterans, who have fought through deserts and storms and pestilential marshes, to your ears this roaring foe should sound sweet as the lyre! And you new recruits, let that raw zeal course like molten iron in your veins! Death! Death! Oh, you jealous gods! With what sour hearts do you inflict this fate upon me? Not blessed to die at the height of my glory, no! Forced to battle on while all I love is stolen from me!
They're getting desperate, getting weary. I can feel it. Hold on just a little more, men. Oh, they flee. Oh, thank the gods. Oh, come, Alexander. Enough blood for one day. Home is calling. Soft chairs and family and the warming fireplace.
What would I know of such things? All my life I have been at war. The battlefield is my home and the funeral pyre is my hearth. Violence is in me. The blazing blood of Heracles flows in these veins. No, I was not made to live gently.
Like Heracles, driven mad by Hera's hand, Alexander slaughtered the Chauceans without pity, soaking the hills crimson. And then, sated, he was alone once more. Hephaestion, Clytus, Bucephalus, Parmenion, They had all crossed the Styx. And how many brave men besides? How many soldiers had left Macedon as keen-eyed youths, only to heave their last breaths on some distant, desolate plain? At last Alexander, who had seen so much death, confronted it himself. Some spoke of disease, others of poison. Perhaps the many wounds finally wore him down, or the drink, or the grief. Even the greatest have their limits.
You must choose a successor, Alexander. To whom will the kingdom pass?
To the strongest.
And with that, the mighty heart stilled. Bereft, filled with sorrow and regret, his dreams of world conquest thwarted, the blazing star burnt out. But how brightly it had shone. He was too much for this world. Too spirited, too ambitious, too bold. Should he really be faulted for that? As for the empire he forged, well, as you might expect, bequeathing your realm to the strongest is hardly conducive to a smooth transition of power. Alexander's generals immediately set to fighting one another, pulling the empire apart like stray dogs tearing at a hunk of meat. No empire would ever be so rapidly gained or so suddenly shattered. Let me rest my tired voice now. And then I shall tell you of another empire. One that rose slowly, patiently, relentlessly, and endured.